Well, hello everyone. I'm pretty excited. I'm finally getting this video together on one of my favorite things to make, and that is veg tan um, deer suede. It's a really easy, next to making full grain leather, this is probably the next easiest. And this was my first one that I made years ago, and back before I acquired a few more skills, so they're a little bit nicer now. But this is a wonderful material. I love it. So, so if you're used to making buckskin, brain tan, or emulsified oil, you'll be way ahead of the game on this one because you may already have the graining portion mastered. And if you do, you may want to skip that part of this series. It's probably several segments, I'm not sure yet. But and there may still be some tips in there that might be helpful for you. If you're kind of new and you have never done it, or if you have grained hides and you're finding some difficulty with that, maybe though you'll find something helpful in the methods. And for those that are really new, graining is taking off that shiny epidermis, and what you end up with is where both sides are very much the same. The hair side will be slightly more finished looking usually, but in some cases you can get them so close that it's very difficult to tell which side's which. Graining will be the most difficult part of the process, and I don't know that there's really a one size fits all. I give a couple of options and some different approaches that I take when I'm graining. I generally use a smaller fleshing knife or a straight fleshing knife and a smaller beam, which gives a smaller contact point, which helps me be more thorough. But the downside of that is I'm only taking off small strips at one time. So if you're able, if one's graining well, you can use a wider knife and a wider beam and take off more at one time and speed things up. I don't mind working on the beam, so I'm not looking to maximize all of that. And I think for the beginner, to be able to take off strips and to see what you're doing is pretty important. And then from there, you can work on what works best for you. And if you're trying to make money at this, you're going to need to find probably a way that's a little more efficient than the way I do it. So there's several ways to prepare for graining. Ideally, if you get a hide off of a deer that's just been killed and you go to work on it right away, or at very least take it right off of the deer and throw it in a bucket of water, make sure it's submerged while you're dealing with your meat. This keeps the moisture from evaporating from that skin, and that's a key. That's critical to graining, is having moisture throughout the skin so that you can get between the grain and the corium, which is the center part that we want to keep. Graining fresh works very well until you get to the neck and the shoulders, and I find that to be the case with just about every method that I've tried. Another way that's used, which is controlled rotting, and that's allowing bacteria to get into the hide and start breaking down things so that the grain comes off easier. I've done that before and it works pretty well. And it oftentimes will make the neck and shoulders grain pretty easily. I don't like the bacteria, I don't care for the smell, but the most important thing about that is the issue of getting infections, and I have cuts on my hands constantly. It's not worth the risk for me. I know several people that have had blood poisoning, and it's a really serious thing. So you've got fresh graining, you've got controlled rot. I do sometimes buck a hide in wood ash lye, and that works well. I mean, I like the way that it comes off. What I don't like about that is you've got these rubbery, slippery hides, and they're extremely difficult to keep on a beam. So there's pluses and minuses to just about every direction that you would want to go that I'm aware of. And now with the bucking, um, there is talk, and I think that I believe this, that it does help clean the hide out and bring out some of that mucus and ground stuff. But you know, it's not crucial that you buck. And there are some people that will fresh grain a hide, and then they rack them and then dry scrape the neck and shoulders. No matter which direction you go, there are some challenges. The neck is just a problem area, but I recommend trying to get that because there is a lot of material in those necks. We're talking, you know, 12 to 20 inches of material, and if you're taking, you know, 10 or 12 inches down the spine and cutting that off, that's a lot of material you could be using. I don't find them to be that difficult to soften if everything's prepared properly. It does take a lot longer. It adds more time because they're thick and you can't stop until they're dry with buckskin. And so that's one of the magical things about this. And what makes it so much easier is the softening process. It's very minimal. I love it. You can let them get almost dry and work them, and they'll just soften right up. So look forward to getting the rest of this together for you. Here we go.